what's up? It's your girl Erica. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Monday. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. I know the week has just started, and I know it's kind of hard sometimes just, coming off of the weekend and getting started, on a fresh week, but I hope you're having a good day nonetheless. And if you aren't, if your day has gotten off to a rough start, I hope that turns around for you because I want you to have a good day. I'm here to do my weekly review of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. First of all, thank you guys for hanging in there with me all season long. We have come to the season finale of season 16 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. This was episode 17 and it was called Game Over. I don't know about you guys, but let me tell you how I feel. Well, let me say two things. Number one, if I have time, I don't want the video to be too long. I am going to incorporate The Real Housewives of Atlanta, the reunion looks. Most of the YouTubers and content creators have already done their videos. For me, I was going to do a video and then I kind of hesitated and pulled back. I wanted to see what they look like on television. Well, I have seen a preview, and so some of my take or my opinion about the looks pretty much remain the same, but there has been a change. But I'll tell you about that at the end of the book. I'll tell you about that at the end of this review. And also, before we get into this particular episode, I don't know about you guys, but this has been a long season for me. The Real Housewives of Atlanta season 16 was an anticipated year and an anticipated season for these girls coming back because they were on a long hiatus. We had not seen them in a while. Portia was returning. We wanted to see what Portia and Kenya were going to do. Unfortunately, Kenya is now gone. And the season just, to me, didn't go the way maybe I expected it to go. Things happen. But this season for me was pretty, it was okay. A lot of people really liked the season. A lot of people enjoyed this particular season. Not me so much. I didn't really enjoy it. This was just like the Real Housewives of Potomac. A lot of people loved the Real Housewives of Potomac last season. They said it was super light. They loved the direction that it went in. It was just okay for me. And the same with the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And let me tell you, you guys, I always take my notes. And if this is what I actually wrote, and you guys can always let me know what you think about it, but let me tell you what I wrote. I said, this has been a season of empty storylines, conjured up beefs, and distasteful clothing. I mean, the hoish style outfits and these made up beefs and storylines have just, I'm over it. So that's how I really feel about this season. I couldn't really say anything too positive. I didn't want to go all the way negative, but I just didn't have a lot of great things to say about this season. I will say, for me, I'm very proud of Drew Sidor. Drew Sidor has been labeled a liar, and we know sometimes that there were times where we didn't feel like Drew was telling the truth, but I am so glad that she was able to put out her project, I Did This to Me, or I Did It to Me. It is a great project. If you haven't heard it, please listen to it. I was so glad that she came out with a finished product after all, sort of like the pile on this season. I'm glad she came out with a finished product. She's going on tour. So shout out to Drew Sidor. Congratulations. You have really earned every bit of the accolades that you're getting for your music, because it is really good. So thank you, Drew. We appreciate you. But let's get started on this particular episode. So it opens up with Portia and Lauren, her sister Lauren, went over to Phaedra's house. Of course, they were talking about Londi. This is in the wake of Londi's passing. Lauren just happened to mention during this particular episode that she was on the phone with Londi when she passed. She said Londi went into distress while she was on the phone, and she tragically passed away. By the time someone got to her or whatever was going on, it was too late. Phaedra did say that she was helping them with the funeral arrangements, and we know that Phaedra, I think like season 4, season 5, Phaedra actually started getting into the funeral business. And she also, I think by like season 6, she went into mortuary science. She had gotten her degree in that. So we know that Phaedra does have a lot to do, like with funeral arrangements, as well as, you know, picking up the bodies and stuff like that. So that was just their little scene. They were actually sitting down eating, but again, you know, they were talking about Londi, and only thing I can say is if you watched Portia's Family Matters, then you know that Londi and Portia didn't get along the greatest. They had some issues, but I hope that they were able to, you know, mend those broken places before she passed away. We go to the next scene. So it was really nothing to that, guys. The biggest scene was at the end of the show, but we'll get there. Angela went to see her therapist. Angela said her and Charles have been going to see this therapist for quite a while, and they've been talking a lot about their marital issues, and this actual therapist has helped them over time. Well, Angela is feeling overwhelmed right now at this moment because she's saying that like the ladies are coming for her marriage. Her and Charles have been in a pretty good place, and then she's also concerned about her real estate investment. That too is also putting pressure on her marriage, and that's not what she wants it to do. One of the things that Angela says that her and Charles have really worked on their marriage and trying to have better communication. And then she also said that she felt bad because she got into a real estate investment, and she partnered with, I think, like someone from overseas, a developer or a real estate investor overseas. She bought all of these properties. Charles actually encouraged her or told her not to do it. She did it anyway, and now these homes are not selling. They're left with a huge bill, and she feels really, really bad about it. So of course the therapist is there. Normally, you know, they're letting you talk, and they're giving like a little bit of advice, but she was sort of asking Angela like how she feels about certain things and what she wants to do. And Angela's just basically saying she wants to, of course, fight for her marriage, and she's going to try to sort of make amends and make things right, because she does realize that she also has made some mistakes. Excuse me. She knows that she's also made some mistakes in the process. So that's what she's going to actually try and do. And that's a good thing. So that was just a quick little scene with them. So then we move on. Shamea is finally doing a showcase of her music. She was doing a set. She had sort of rented out a venue. We saw her practicing with her background vocalist and also, you know, the musicians and stuff like that, because she had a live band. The girls showed up. A lot of the girls were excited to see what Shamea was going to do. Drew threw a little shade. She said she was there for the constructive criticism part of it, simply because Shamea had been kind of taking a few shots and digs at her and her music throughout the season, and we know that to be true. So Drew said that's what she was there for. So Brit showed up. Brit hugged everyone except for Kelly, and of course that wasn't too far-fetched, or it was expected, because her and Kelly had the blowout last week, and so, you know, of course they didn't speak. So they you know, she started off the show. Shamea started. She didn't sound the greatest. She said she was a little nervous. She seemed to have been off pitch a little bit. And the girls were kind of critiquing it. They could tell that something was going on. Brit and Drew, they did ask them in their confessionals about it. They said that she was okay. After the first song, Shamea came back out. She did another full set. She did probably several songs. Of course, we didn't see everything. We just saw, you know, little clips of it, you know. But Shamea was doing okay. She was dancing, you know, she changed her outfits. You know, she had the, like I said, the background vocalist. She seemed to be interacting with the crowd. She really wanted to put on a full show. And I think that she was able to do what she wanted to do. Of course, there's always room for improvement. What I will say is, again, congratulations to Shamea. I know that sometimes these reality stars, they have, you know, they have other things that they want to do, and being on Bravo and being on these shows, it does allow them at times to sort of live out their dreams. So as far as that's concerned, I would say congratulations to her. I haven't heard her full project. I haven't really heard too much of her songs. Like Drew stuff, I've heard all of it and I love it. I can put it on repeat and be perfectly fine. I need to familiarize myself with Shamea's music a little bit more because I really don't know about it, but I will. I'll give it a chance for sure. So anyway, after that, Gerald, he told everyone, or he came up and he gave her flowers and he told her that he was very, very proud of her. And I actually wrote this down. This is not something I'm making up. This right here. I said, my question was, why does Shamea say that she has to return a sexual favor to her husband every time he gives her something? I think that that is so tacky on her part. I know that people joke around. I'm not saying that. Don't get me wrong. I do have a sense of humor and I'm not like a prude about anything, believe me. But I just feel like she always feels like she has to tell him that, like, you're a married woman, so having sex with your husband is something that you do on a normal, consistent basis. Or I would say the average couple, they have sex multiple times a week, if not multiple times a day. You do what you do. But I'm just saying, for me, I don't like the fact that Shamea always has to sort of make it known that every time her husband gives her something, every time he does something for her, she has to make it known, oh, I'll pay you back later, or I'll handle you later, and stuff like that. It makes it seem like it's like an exchange, and that's your husband. He should want to do nice things for you and support you just as you would want to do nice things for him and to support him. I'm sure that Gerald helped her out quite a bit with the money, like, for studio time and just putting the project together. But, just with him just saying he's proud of her, I wanted Shamea to just say, thank you, I love you, and move on. Like, all of giving us the background of what she's going to have to do later and dropping her head back and showing us what she's going to do. I just think that that's just too much. Maybe it's an age thing for me, and not that I'm so much older than them. I'm just in my late 40s, and I just feel like, girl, you don't have to always like show and tell or show and prove what you're doing. If you have a genuine relationship with your husband or with your significant other, your man, whatever, it's okay. Like, you don't have to let the world know or let your friends know or let everybody know how you handle him, what you gonna do, how you gonna get it done. You don't have to do that. I think that Shamea, I don't know if it's part of her people pleasing thing, but it's like, Shamea, you need to stop doing that. You need to just learn how to be confident in what he did for you. Say, thank you, honey, I love you, I appreciate you, and move on, period. That it kind of gets on my nerves. But anyway, Brit and Shamea, they, once the ladies congratulated her, everyone started, they started leaving, or they left out. We do know, we saw a side, like another little clip where Cynthia told Shamea about the conversation that they had with Brit at Brit's home that her and Portia had. And, Cynthia mentioned that, Brit mentioned or told them that Shamea had been talking about Portia and showing Portia's text messages and sharing Portia's information. Well, Shamea and Brit got into it. Shamea was just saying that it wasn't true. Well, Portia even said that part of it was true because there's no way that Brit would have known that information. So Portia said that what Shamea had done, the information was true. And so, but she told Brit, I just think that you're jealous because of the relationship that I now have with Kelly. And of course, anything jolts Brit. I am not a Brit Edie fan. I don't think Brit ever belongs on the show at all. But I will say this, like I said, this is typical Brit. Brit does not handle herself, I would say, in the best way. Sometimes she does go for the jugular. She does try to like go nasty and dirty, and it will cause someone to like really go hard on her. So the first thing Brit said was like, oh, well, she didn't say anything about her daughter, but the comment itself was just kind of nasty. So Brit was like, oh, okay, well, you're going there with me. Well, basically, did you see your daughter when you were in Miami? Because when you were in Grenada, you were crying and you had everybody up in arms forums about how sick your daughter was, but then, you know, you were in Miami or whatever the case may be, and I just wanted to know, did you get a chance to see your daughter and spend time with your daughter? So, of course, that was like a jab or a dig. And then Shamea was like, girl, you know, don't talk to me about my child. You know, make sure, you know, you handle your issues. You know, you know, you're a pill popper. You know, you need to be worried about that. And then Brit came back and was like, oh, well, you need to worry about, you know, some type of cheating allegations and stuff like that, you know, pertaining to Shamea. And so, you know, Shamea was like, girl, you're talking about stuff that was a long time ago that has nothing to do with now, or whatever the case may be. So again, for me, it was setting up, all of this was setting up for the reunion. Unfortunately, Brit is not coming, or did not come to the reunion, but a lot of these questions could have been answered had Brit decided to come to the reunion, and now we will never know. We don't know whether Shamea was going to give a great explanation. We don't know if Brit was going to basically bury them with, you know, Shamea with a lot of information, her and Kelly. We don't know. We will never know, because again, Brit is not coming. So I just felt like, dag, you know, that whole exchange was like a waste of time, because we won't ever really know what the truth is. So, you know, it moves on. Brit was looking at a private jet. Okay, why is she looking at a private jet? I don't know if she was looking at a private jet or getting on one, but I think she was looking at one. Brit, girl, like I said, we had probably 2 or 3 episodes where they were talking about you only gave $250 for the Grenada donations. Like, girl, private jet, you definitely shouldn't be looking at that. They had a short scene with Kelly. Kelly was upset because of the divorce. She thought that the divorce hearing and the divorce would actually be over. And so she's getting delayed in opening up her Nana's Chicken and Waffles. She wants to sort of like franchise it and put different restaurants in different cities. She wanted to put one in Sandy Springs in Atlanta, but that's delayed, of course, because she's still tied to her husband. So she was upset about that. So that was a short scene. Then they moved on to Drew. So I guess they're trying to just recap everyone's story for the entire season. Drew came in the room. Ralph was playing the piano. Of course, Ralph is a musician. They have recorded music together, or Ralph has produced something for Drew. In the past, I think she had a song called You Already Know. If you haven't heard it, it is a nice song. I'm telling you. Look it up, Drew Sidor, You Already Know. Or already know. And they were talking. Drew said that her children were in Chicago with the mom. And I really didn't want this scene. I know they had to tie it in, but I don't want to see Ralph. I don't want to hear from Ralph. I don't want to know anything about Ralph. And Ralph asked, you know, I just want to know how we got to this particular place in, you know, our marriage or whatever. Ralph, really? Like, and I even wrote in my notes, I said, I just wasn't for it. I didn't want Drew to have a vulnerable moment with Ralph at all, because I did not want him to turn it on her and make her out to be a liar, or turn it around and say that she was pretending about something, or she was gaslighting him, which he does to her. I just didn't want it. I don't want to see Ralph anymore. I wish that their divorce could be finalized. If Drew and Ralph are coming back, if Drew is coming back next season, I want Ralph out of that house, and I want them divorced. If they're not getting back together, which I know they're not, then I want Ralph gone. I want Drew to be able to live her life, and for us to have an entire season without Ralph. Thank you very much. But Drew said she's okay with everything, and she just wants Ralph to, you know, be there for their children. And that's really all that she said. And I'm glad that she, like I said, didn't go through a whole spill with him, because like I said, he would have turned it on her anyway. Phaedra went out on a date. What can I say? Phaedra's still dating Shaq from, she met him on season 11 of the Real Housewives of it. I'm sorry, she met him in season 11 of Married to Medicine. I think Sweet Tea had like a speed dating event, and she met Shek there. Shek is younger than her. She now calls him Chi Chi. So Phaedra and Chi Chi went out on a little date, and Phaedra said she's not looking to get married. She's just having a great time. And as far as that's concerned, it is what it is. So we don't even need to see any more of that. Brit was talking to her husband Mike and her mom. You know, her mom is now living there. Brit said that the family is getting together for the very first time. She said her and Mike got married during COVID. They did not have a wedding, and the family just really hasn't blended, and that's kind of difficult too. Brit is not really close to her family either. So you're talking about now you're becoming one with someone else and you're trying to join their family as well. Well, that can be a little difficult because Brit, like I said, is not even cohesive with her own flesh and blood. So let alone, you know, Mike and his family. Not that there's anything wrong with his family, but it's just the point that you can just tell Brit's not a family girl. She's just really not. And I understand sometimes things happen, but you can just kind of see that in her. So anyway, this was the first time of everyone coming together, his family and her family. They had dinner. Even her sister was saying she had not seen someone in a very long time. And I think Brit said she hadn't even really talked to them or been around her family in a year. But she did make the announcement that they're going to go forward with the ceremony. So, she said they got married during COVID. It almost sounded as if Brit and Mike weren't married, but she did say they got married during COVID. So they're going to go forth with a wedding, so to speak. And then they're going to work on having a baby. We need to say nothing else about that. So long, Brit Edie. She's not coming back to the show. We already know that. She gave us absolutely nothing, so we can move forward. So here we are with the main event, and my energy's probably going to pick up a little bit more because there was so much in this particular part of the episode. Because the first half of the episode was really boring. It was, like I said, they were just giving us a brief synopsis of everybody's storyline or lack thereof for the season. But the main event, Angela and Charles had they actually had a fundraising event, and it was a really nice event. It was a black tie affair. Everyone came dressed. Let me say this in case I forget, they raised $107,000 for the entire event. But this was an event to actually, and I like what Charles said. He said growing up, his family, they were the cooks, and so not only did they feed their big family, but they fed other families in the community, and they wanted to, so they had that. So Charles Oakley likes the outreach stuff. He likes to do those kind of things, and he wanted to honor other people in the community who were sort of doing the same thing. They honored a lady who was doing the Meals on Wheels. They also honored another lady who had done something to help women with domestic violence. And then they surprisingly honored Portia, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But when the ladies came in, we saw everyone, like I said, they were dressed in black. They, you know, were, like I said, everyone was nice and neat. They came dressed. It was a formal affair. It was a sit-down dinner, all of that. And what happened is, initially, Charles, I think Cynthia had asked Charles where was Angela. Angela was running a little late, but Angela was on the phone with Drew. They were talking about the guy Marcus, who actually approached Angela in last week's episode about Charles cheating in his restaurant. Well, they were talking about him. Marcus was actually coming to this particular event. And so, you know, I think Drew was telling him that, yes, he had decided to come. So she was on the phone with Drew. But anyway, Angela showed up. Everyone got there. The event started. They started giving out the awards, and then they called Portia up. They really honored Portia for her cousin. They were going to probably give it to Londi, but Londi passed away, so they honored Portia instead. They talked about Londi's work in the community, and Portia got up there and accepted the honor, and she talked about her cousin Londi. Of course, Portia, when she came off of the stage, she started to cry, and the girls sort of rallied around her, and they were hugging her and telling her that everything would be okay. So, Angela, like as the night went on, everyone seemed to have a great time. They said it was a really nice event. So Angela called all the girls over. She said, "Well, I want to talk to you." So Angela was really setting the scene, child. She was getting them ready for what she was about to drop. So she started talking about, Kelly, you had this event, and I was a little concerned because, it was your event, and you seem to have known the guy, and you seem to have been sort of chummy with this guy, and I really had my eye on you. I didn't know if I could trust you. I didn't know if you had something to do with it. So Kelly was kind of sitting there, kind of like with a little smirk on her face, but Kelly was kind of shocked that Angela said it. Okay, then she sort of alluded to Brit because she's had issues with Brit in the past. Well, then in comes Mr. Marcus, this random guy who, like I said, made a splash last week, coming to drop a bomb on Angela, saying that your husband is in my restaurant. He's cheating on you. He's been in the restaurant with other women, and I just want to let you know. And cheers if your name is Angela and your husband is cheating on you. That's what Marcus did last week. Well, this week, Marcus is a different person. He's humble, and he's coming to tell the truth. So he walked in with Drew in front of the group. Then Marcus goes through the spiel, and then he says, I want to let you know who this person was. So Charles happened to see the guy. So Charles, of course, Angela told Charles exactly what happened. Well, Charles sees the guy. Charles is like, hold on, you need to get out. He went off. He was like, I don't play those games or whatever. You need to get out of here. Charles was ready. The old Charles Oakley, the enforcer, was back on the scene, and he was going to handle that guy. But Angela kept saying, no, no, no. Let him go. Let him go. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Well, Angela, really what you should have done, you should have told Charles that he was going to reveal to the group who actually set this thing up, because I don't think Charles knew that. That's why Charles had that reaction to him. So Charles ended up leaving. Angela set the scene. Marcus comes up. Marcus drops the bomb that it was Phaedra. Phaedra's looking like, me? So he went into this thing about he had their connection is some guy named Junebug. So Angela was going through it and saying, Phaedra, I thought I could trust you. Even after the event, you called me, you told me that you actually were familiar with the guy, you knew the guy, or whatever the case may be. Now that's where, let's kind of dissect this, guys, because I need to know what you think about that. Because for me, if Phaedra knew the guy, why didn't Phaedra say something right then and there? If she knew him, she should have said, oh, that's Marcus. What is he doing here, child? He's a troublemaker. He's always making his rounds, or, what is he doing here? Or she could have had a side conversation with Marcus there. I'm sure the production or the cameras would have followed them, and they could have cleared that up right then and there. I don't know why Phaedra called Angela in secret about it if she didn't have anything to do with it. Well, anyway, Marcus said that Phaedra is the godfather of Atlanta, and she's running things, and she's always doing all this like shady underhanded stuff. So all the girls, so of course Portia was like, well, why would Phaedra do that? And everybody was making a joke about the guy saying their connection is some guy named Junebug. Well, they were saying we all know a Junebug, but the thing about it is we don't know the connection to who he is because Junebug wasn't there. Well, anyway, so Angela was going back and forth and was saying, basically, you're saying you had nothing to do with it, but you gave me the information. It's like you handed it to me on a silver platter because you called me. You told me you know this guy. This guy approached me. He said what he said. You told me he knows, or you knew him. Now he's telling me you were the one that paid him and put it in an envelope or whatever the case may be. And now you're denying it. So now it's like, it's almost like, are we going to have to do some type of mystery game to find out who really did it? Who do you think did it? I'm still up in the air. I'm 50-50. I can say that it could be Phaedra, but then I can see where it may not be Phaedra. Phaedra said, well, why would I do that? I already had issues in this group. You think I would be stupid enough to do it just like that? We don't know. Like I said, for me, I'm 50-50. I haven't heard anyone else's review or their opinion on it. Like I said, I'm up in the air with it. It makes perfect sense that Phaedra could have done this, but then again, it could have been any one of those ladies, because they all could have been conspiring at this point. Some people even said that Angela set it up. I don't think she would do that, because Angela is too sensitive about what people say about Charles and about her marriage. So I don't see that. But tell me what you guys think in the comments, because right now we still don't know. They'll probably talk about it a lot more at the reunion, but we will have to see, because that's what we were left with. So Phaedra was like, well, you sitting up here talking about trying to expose me, but you're the one in foreclosure. Well, Angela said, girl, that ain't no tea. Girl, I will tell my own business. So I don't know if she was talking about the foreclosure with their actual residents, or if she was talking about in foreclosure with all the businesses that she had. But Angela said it wasn't tea. So they had to move on from that. So, of course, Shamea and Brit were about to get into it. I think that was just sort of, it kind of stemmed over, kind of spilled over from Shamea's event. They were getting into it. Child, it was just a mess. So after a while, everyone started to filter out, but that's just how it went off. And then it said, oh, Shamea, oh, this is what got me when Brit said, take my mic off, take my mic off. And mind you guys, did you see how Mike was standing in the background? He was like being Brit's security. Like when the girls were having the conversation, Brit really wasn't being accused of anything. She was in no danger, but Mike was literally standing like right there, taking it all in. I don't know if you guys saw that, or if you haven't watched it and you're just listening to me, watch how he was standing there in the background. I was like, well, what is he doing there? Like, no one else was there. Like, even though the other men weren't around, I just didn't understand why he didn't, fall off to the side. I mean, Shaq was there. He could have just talked to Chi-Chi if that was the case. But anyway, so Brit said, take my mic off. These girls are low lives. They're all low lives. I was like, what? Brit, you are probably the biggest low life there, for you to call the rest of the girls that. I didn't like that. I was like, yeah, take her mic off. Goodbye and good riddance to Brit Edie. We don't ever have to see her ever, ever, never, ever, ever again. Thank you very much for your services. And then that was it. So then they went to 5 months later, and then they show us Portia's home. It was like around Christmas time, and Portia was sort of saying that they were showing us, a little bit of the house and how it was, decorated for Christmas, because it looked like it was around the holidays. They had a Christmas tree up, and Portia was just showing us her beautiful home, her marital home that she shares with Simon. We really didn't care, because we didn't see anything all season long. We know that there was some type of injunction where she couldn't do it, but it was just like, okay, now what? We don't need to see it. So she just told her mom. Her mom came over, and she told her mom, yeah, Mom, we now have a court date for the divorce hearing. Well, we know was probably pushed back because Simon was picked up and eventually deported. And they just got the divorce like maybe about a week and a half, or maybe about a week and a half ago now. So we know that it was pushed back. But that was the end of the episode, and that was the end of season 17. Like I said, I really did not enjoy this season that much. I wish I had, just this warm, fuzzy, like, feeling like, oh my God, these girls did such a great job, and I really want to see this entire group back. I really, really don't. The only person I really don't even, honestly, I don't have to see Shamea and Cynthia anymore. I love Cynthia. Cynthia's going to always be a staple. She can be around, but I would rather see Marlo as a friend of the housewife, the friend of the housewives. And, I would rather them keep Kelly over Shamea. But, it is what it is. I'm sure all of these girls will be back. They may add one other person, and that's it. And we'll see what happens with the reunion. But anyway, let me just say this real quick. I'm at the halfway mark. Just hang in there with me, guys. I just want to say a little bit about this particular, the reunion looks. I will say I went back and forth about who was my number one, but I'm going to say this really, really quick, and I'm going to go through them. Shamea was number one to me. Shamea looked absolutely beautiful. Her dress was very unique. I loved the applique on the dress. It was just simply gorgeous. She looked sophisticated and elegant from head to toe. Shamea, I have had issues with Shamea's fashion all season long. I really have. But she looked absolutely beautiful and it was perfect. She was number one to me when I first saw it. I thought it was kind of like, she almost looked like, the dress almost looked lime green, but when you saw it on television, it looked like it was, you know, the appropriate yellow or gold hue. She looked absolutely beautiful. Loved it from head to toe. Sheer perfection. Shamea, great job. Number 2 for me, I have gone back and forth. Angela Oakley is my number 2, and let me tell you why. Because this was Angela's first reunion look. I think Angela looked elegant, classy. She had cutouts on the dress, but she looked very neat, very appropriate. For me, with Angela, Angela has had some work done, but not the typical BBL or anything. She's not spilling out of her clothes. She has more of an athletic build. She looked really nice. I love the hair, love all the you know, just her jewelry, everything. She just looked really nice. Portia is the fashion girl for Real Housewives of Atlanta, but let me tell you why Portia was number 3 for me. Portia was number 3 for me because we've kind of seen this look from Portia. I want to see Portia give me something else. Portia gives us sexy all day every day, but when I looked at it, it looked more like oh, how do I say it? It had like a Roman Empire inspired feel, like the hardware. Like, I loved it. Like the top of the dress, I loved it. But it was giving like sexy, not classy and sophisticated. And we've seen this from Portia a million times. Love the gold, the silk or the satin gold bottom. Beautiful material, a beautiful color. I actually love the hardware, but it's just not number 1 for me, because like I said, and then the hair, I didn't like Portia's hair. These girls don't pin their hair up. I don't know why. Portia she sort of had big hair. I really didn't like it. If, in my opinion, Portia could have actually done the curly hair that we've seen in normal in her normal like confessionals. I think Portia could have done that hair, or it would have been great if Portia had done an updo or something like that. I think she would have looked better that way, but to me, just with the hardware and the big hair, it did not come across on television as being super duper nice. It just did not look as nice as I thought it did. So she moved down to number 3 for me. Number 4 was Cynthia. Cynthia, you know, she had her typical strapless dress on. Cynthia's just a friend of the housewife, but Cynthia, that's her normal look, that strapless dress. She's done it numerous times. The only thing I didn't like about Cynthia, I think that Cynthia should have had black hair, darker hair. I think the darker hair would have looked really nice on her. And I think I want them sometimes I think it would have been nice to have, I think Cynthia would have, even if she had the blonde hair, I think Cynthia would have looked so young and youthful if she had done like a ponytail, like an updo and a ponytail. I think she would have looked really cute with that. Cynthia looks extremely good for her age. I think she's close to 60 years old. I think she's like in her late 50s, but Cynthia looks great. But just being around these younger girls, I think Cynthia would have looked really nice if she had like like a pony, like a high pony, and you know, just would have done something different with her hair. Or if she had to wear straight hair, I think it should have been a lot straighter and in black. We've seen Cynthia look really pretty with the jet black hair. So Cynthia was number 4 for me. Number 5, well, let me just say, Kelly, Drew, and Phaedra were horrible to me. Their looks were, I hated them. I just hated them. But I will say the worst for me was Phaedra Parks, and I'll get to her. For Drew, okay, I didn't like the feathers, the crystals, the high-low, the different color fingernails. I think Drew should have taken the length of her fingernails down. I didn't like the hair. Like I keep saying, these girls need, Drew is so pretty. She's so beautiful. She needs to have her hair back off of her face. you know, she could have had maybe like the little tendrils falling down, but her hair should have been back. Drew could have even worn a sleek bun and we could have seen the top of her dress. I would have loved to have seen it. I don't even think I saw the top of her dress. I don't know if it's strapless or if it's sort of like halters. I don't know anything about her. Her hair is so big. I think these girls think that the big hair is sexy and it makes them look, you know, sexy and all of that. It gives that, you know, that look. But I think they don't, what they're missing is class and sophistication. When you're wearing gowns and evening wear, sometimes you have to get away from wearing so much big hair and long hair and covering up everything. It is ridiculous. Drew, like I said, you messed up. She didn't even have on like diamond bracelets or anything. I don't, just her, even her jewelry did not even match. I was just like, girl, this is not working. But I didn't like it. Kelly was second to my least worst. She was even below Drew to me. And the reason why, because I know, Kelly, you can do better. Drew has not been the most stylish person, but Kelly, you can do better. With me, Kelly had too much hair. I love the blonde hair, but Kelly should have had an updo herself. And to me, Kelly should have worn a dress like Shamea, but the short version. We've seen Kelly in short dresses and mini skirts all season long. I think Kelly looked the prettiest. Less is more. And I think even in her confessional when she had on the pink, Kelly looked so pretty and so nice when she had on like the pink and she had like a little curl here, but it was like a soft look. I like to see Kelly looking soft. And just for me, I did not particularly care for Kelly's outfit. I think it was too long for her. It was too much. The dress had too much going on. Like I said, had she done a dress like Shamea in a shorter version, I just think it would have been perfect. So Kelly, her shoes were nice, but that's it. Phaedra, the worst I've ever seen her this look. This is the worst I've ever seen Phaedra look. I want Phaedra to get back to how she used to look in about season 7, 8, 9. Phaedra was at her best. Her makeup was a little off at times in season 7, but Phaedra looked her best back then. I want her to get back to that. Phaedra, the headpiece, the earrings, the dress, the shoes, it was just all too much. Like I said, it was like this Roman Empire, you know, inspired look, and she looked horrible. Phaedra is becoming a character and a caricature, and I don't know where she's going with this. I just think that Phaedra's doing too much. I think, like I said, less is more. And I think these women get it wrong because they think that they have to do so much and it makes them look glamorous and sexy. But in actuality, it makes them sometimes look older, and it makes them also just look, like I said, like you're made up, like you're acting or you're a caricature. Stop it. You know, I hope these ladies, they come back, but I hope that the fashions change a little bit too. I used to like to see Phaedra dressed up when she went to work and she was sitting in her law office, or, you know, when she just had on like a jumpsuit or something, Phaedra would look cute. Now, I don't like too much of anything that Phaedra wears. So that is my review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I went over a little longer than I normally do. Please forgive me, but I just wanted to add my opinions on their reunion looks. Please like this video and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I appreciate your support. And let me know what you think. Like, did you like this season? Was it a flop for you, or, you know, do you give it 2 thumbs up? You thought it was really, really good? Let me know what you think about who actually, you know, framed, you know, who should we frame for this? Is Phaedra guilty for using the guy Marcus to try to come at Angela, or do you think it's someone else? Let me know what you think. I would really appreciate that, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. Like I said, there's more to come because I'm sure these girls are going to be going after each other all week long before this reunion. We'll see a lot more. We'll hear a lot more. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Have an amazing day, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.